Hello and welcome to the second episode of the Every Country podcast. My name is Luca.
I'm now Philipp.
And we are here to talk about every country in the world. And today we have an interesting story time. We will talk about how we got roasted by the European Parliament. And I swear it's not clickbait, so stick around.
It's kind of true. We have a story of how we visited a special country, and then, there was a little drama behind it.
Where did we start the journey?
Airport Cologne Bonn.
And then we flew to...
Which was actually the first time that we ever met in Germany.
That's
you remember?
True.
Yeah.
The first time that we met was in the Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
I was just visiting my 100th country.
That's true. Yeah, you're right.
So I had a little celebration there.
Yeah.
And then I met Philipp.
Yeah.
And then we went to Venezuela together.
Yeah, Haiti was crazy.
Haiti we went to together.
Okay, but that's not the topic of today. That was just how we met in person.
Anyway, this journey started. We were in Germany. First time seeing each other right. In Germany. And then we flew to Cyprus.
Yeah.
And we spent some days there. And then we continued to Lebanon.
And
that's also not the topic. But then we traveled
we're getting closer. We went to Syria together.
We went to Syria.
Yeah.
So we went on a tour from Beirut to Damascus and then all the way up to Aleppo and then to Basra in the south and lots of places.
Yeah. We went. I just
and to Malula.
We spent 4 days in the country.
Malula. Very nice.
No, we spent 4 days in the country. That was an amazing time, I have to say. It was very interesting. It was my first time in an Arab country. To be
Syria?
honest. Yeah.
Well, after Lebanon.
Yeah.
Really?
It was my first time ever
That's
going
quite
to
a
like an Arab.
statement.
Yeah.
True, you still haven't been to Jordan. We covered that in the last episode. Nah, he's going to Syria. Whatever.
And all the Gulf countries was 2 years ago. No, it was all in 2022. Yeah, and we went to Syria in August 2022, and then after that I did all the Gulf countries. But no, Lebanon was the first country. I got a very warm welcome to the cuisine of the Arab world. You know, I remember we went to the mall to have this. Do you remember the restaurant we went to?
Yeah.
So that was the first time I had like a proper Arabic meal experience, food experience. Yeah, it was awesome. I still think about it to this day.
Lebanese food is
Lebanese,
just
100%. Yeah, no, 100%.
Like the Levantine cuisine in general is like, oh.
Yeah, 100%. I love it. Here at the Gulf, it's a little disappointing. I feel like they only have rice and chicken. It's nice, it's good rice and chicken, but it's like...
I mean, especially here in Dubai, I really like how international it is.
Of course.
We're going to a Nepalese restaurant tonight.
Yeah.
There's so many Ethiopian restaurants. That's all I need, basically. No, anyway. So let's get back to the story. We were in Lebanon, then we crossed to Syria, and we spent 4 days in Syria.
Right.
And we did that in a tour. So we were in Syria, and as we always try to do, we covered the beautiful things about Syria.
Right.
Everyone, when they think about Syria, they think about war, they think about destruction, they think about all those horrible images that, yes, have their right place in the news, but there's a whole other side to Syria. There's millions of people living in that country and that have somewhat normal lives. Life is going on after the war, during the war. And so we wanted to show that side of Syria. We wanted to show the culture and the markets and the people and the hospitality of the people. That was our goal with filming videos. Yeah. And
we did have a nice time. Of course we saw some of the destruction that happened during the war. A lot of it actually, especially in the urban areas. But I would say I felt very welcomed. I feel like people were very happy that we were there, and that is a side you don't really hear about on the news.
Exactly.
Right.
A lot of Syrians are very welcoming and they're actually very happy that you visit their place.
Exactly. They feel honored, because they know that on the outside they're only portrayed in a negative way.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh well, Syria is the place where all the refugees come from, where it's just drama happening, and no one actually covers the side that, as you said, people still have a somewhat normal life over there.
Yeah. So we were in Damascus. I actually celebrated my birthday in Damascus.
Yes, but that was on the way back.
That was
right.
Okay. Really?
Yeah. I think we went from the 21st to the 24th. 21, 2, 3, 4. Those were 3 nights. We spent 3 nights in the country, 4 days.
Yeah. So we started the tour in Damascus On the way back, I celebrated my birthday in Damascus as well. So
Exactly.
we went out and we drank lots of arak.
Oh, that was terrible.
I love
honestly,
arak,
yeah,
honestly.
it's the worst drink I've ever had.
It's amazing.
No, hell no.
Guys, like people don't know this, but people don't know this, but there's actually a nightlife in Damascus. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I went there with my ex-girlfriend. Sophia was on the trip as well. So it was us three that traveled to Syria. And in the beginning, we were really like, okay, does she need to wear a headscarf? Does she not? You know?
Yeah.
And no one wears a headscarf.
No one cares.
It's crazy.
It's
crazy.
true.
Like, there's actually nightlife going on
in
Damascus. And we showed those kind of sides of Syria. You know?
Exactly.
We went to Aleppo. We went to the markets. We spoke to them. I remember this one nut seller that invited us for some nuts. And
exactly.
we shared this kind of
image
of Syria. Yep. And obviously, while we are in the country, we also cannot really say much against the government.
Exactly. You know? That was always a risk. I remember thinking about this 24/7. Every time I made a story, I was like, well, don't be negative about this, you know. But I don't know. But it's like I didn't really know how to portray this because, you know, as long as you were in the country, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know who sees this, who has an eye on you, since, you know, because obviously they know we have a visa, we entered the country as tourists, and you know, I don't know if there's someone sitting and just kind of observing what the tourists are doing.
And the risk is that you're still in the country.
Exactly.
You know? So as long as you have this content on your phone, if there's ever a control and they check your content, and that's not unlikely in those places.
That is true.
So if they ever check your phone, it didn't happen to us, but if they ever check your phone and they're like, oh, you talk bad against like some leader or something, then we're gonna be in trouble, basically.
Yeah.
You know, so we didn't.
Exactly. That was the main reason why in the stories that we filmed inside the country, we didn't say anything negative.
Yeah.
You know, of course, in the whole context, I would say the main reason for me was what you already said, is like in the media, on the news channel, you only hear negative things about the country, and I was like, okay, let's counter this a little bit. You know, let's pull this back. Okay, the image of the people.
It's not that we portrayed Syria as this like amazing tourist destination.
No,
I did film a lot of stuff, like for example, where there were like all the magnets in Maalula when we were there, and there were like all the like propaganda magnets basically of like Russian and Syrian flags, with like Putin and Assad on, and like pretty crazy stuff that you wouldn't really find in the West. You know? It's like, wow, you see them everywhere and this kind of stuff. You know, I did portray it a little bit in my stories as well. But then what happened, some member, we're not going to name any names, but some member from the European Parliament tweeted about us. Yeah. And claimed the wildest things about us. Of us being sponsored by the Assad regime, being paid by Syria to produce propaganda videos.
Yeah, that was the big...
To share it among like a European audience. We were deemed by like, we were deemed by some fraction of the European Parliament to be like far-right sympathizers because we were like portraying Syria as a nice place. So basically then the right-wing party in Germany picked it up, some people from there, and they were like, look at those two idiots, they go to Syria, it's safe for them, so it's safe for all the refugees that came from Syria, hence we have to send them back.
Exactly.
Which is not anywhere close to what we said.
No.
But it was portrayed as like, okay, we went to Syria to show that it's safe. And while it, is fairly safe for tourists, we never claimed that it's safe for the people to go back to the country.
So you have to really differentiate between politically safe and like safe on the street. You know, because like also our tour guide actually told us, you know, you don't have to worry about your stuff being taken away or being stolen by people, because it's like people really try to honor their next one, basically. You know, and outside, also at the bar and everything, everyone was really friendly. And our tour guide explained to us that, you know, the people here are so religious that they really don't want to harm anyone, you know. And of course, this is one thing, and I remember a story that I made that was, you know, screenshotted quite a lot. You know, I think I wrote something like Syria is a safe country or something like that. And when you listen to what I said, it's actually, you know, in context to the safety on the street. You know, no one's gonna kidnap you or anything. But it's of course a completely different story talking about the political situation. You know, especially the people that fled during the war because they wanted to avoid the military service, and when they come back. You know, you don't know what they're going to face.
Exactly.
You know, and that's a completely different image, a completely different situation for the people. So Syria is safe for us, was safe for us.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous thinking about like us two innocent gringos,
Yeah.
stupid gringos, going to Syria, and then there's actually people that sit in the European Parliament that are tweeting about us,
that
claim things that are just beyond like anything that is true. You know, it's just so untrue. We were seriously thinking of like filing some claims for like defamation or something, you know, because it was literally made out of thin air. It had no basis whatsoever.
No.
It was very interesting, and we got a huge shitstorm from it.
Yeah,
I remember
a lot of news channels covered it.
Yeah,
that was.
And I remember my ex-girlfriend, sorry, not girlfriend, ex-girlfriend. she was in a small town in England, and there was one Syrian guy, and everyone knows each other in the town, you know. And this one Syrian guy came to her mum and was like, your daughter is so irresponsible. She went to Syria and like crazy stuff. You know, we got so many hate messages as well. But then actually the side that really wasn't shown was all the Syrians as well that talked to us like, wow, thank you for giving my country a chance. You know, because I would say that it was probably the majority of Syrians.
Yeah, no, I agree. There was a huge difference between the people that wrote public comments, you know, on our posts. The comments were mostly negative. But the DMs that I got were 90% positive.
Yeah,
that was great. But no one wanted to be the person to.
Because I feel like it's also a bit of a conflict between the Syrians. You know, there's a lot of Syrians that are saying, well, okay, there's no way that you should support the regime by going there, which I, to some degree, I understand. But then I always ask the question, well, you need to differentiate between politics and the people.
Yes,
you know, you need
100%.
to give the people on the street a chance. And I think Syria is a beautiful country, and it's worth being explored as well. You know, if I only go to places where I like the leaders,
exactly,
which country can I even go to? If you only go to countries where you fully support everything they do, it doesn't make much sense to me.
I mean, the statement is a little. I don't know if I'd go this far, you know, because obviously even in Germany, you know, the country that I grew up in, it changes, you know, of course, from time to time, and also I don't think there's any country in the world that has a government that I absolutely support. Maybe there is, I don't know, but you know, it's always like a little a gray area. You know, you just have to find out how gray is it, and in case of Syria, it's, you know, close to black. You know, but it's you have to see. I don't know. I just don't like the argument to say, you know, is there any country that I support, because it's always just a, you know, matter of how much do I support and how much do I not, and it's.
And I think the most important thing is that you really have to differentiate the government from the people. You know, very often the people in a place, they can do very little against their government, especially in those dictatorships. You know,
I think that's the main point that we learned on this trip, you know, or that we tried to show the people on the internet by doing this trip, you know, that the country of Syria is not only it's not one thing. It's just any country is not one thing. It's always, you have the side of the government, the people that actually decide what's going on politically in the country, and you have the side of the people that, you know, mostly the majority of the people that might want to do, you know, want something else. You know, another example at the moment, Venezuela or Argentina. You know, it's like places. You know, you can say similar things about. Of course, not with this. How do you say, like the aggressive extent? Yeah. But
but people will always there will always be people that really disagree with their government.
Exactly.
And you like by just saying, okay, I don't like the government and I don't travel to that place, you're really not giving the local people a chance. In very many ways, I think. And and a lot of people don't know that, for example, we went to Aleppo. You know, when people think about Aleppo, they only think about destruction, nothing else. And then you actually go to like the Aleppo new city that was built like just after the worst part of the civil war in Syria, and you see like housing complexes and markets and millions of people living in the city, and you can eat falafel on the street, you know, and all those kind of vibrant life things that you wouldn't expect in Syria. And then you're there and you're like, wow, I didn't expect that.
That's true. No, I agree. There were so many times that I didn't even believe myself that I'm in the country right now. You know, it felt so different. It felt so normal. And what I heard about the country just a couple of years ago, you know, in 2015, 16, when, you know, it was such a different place. You know, you heard the city name so often in a negative context, and now you're here and it's so different. Yeah. You still see the ruins, at least 2 years ago when we were there, but Yeah, it's. I remember we actually went to eat falafel on the street. And nothing happened. We saw the markets, and it felt like a normal Arabic city.
One of the scariest situations that I was actually ever in was in a Hezbollah checkpoint in Syria, around the shrine of Zainab. It's crazy. It's this pilgrimage site of this one holy person in Shia Islam, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of people coming also from Iraq and from neighboring countries that go there to pray. And you're in that mosque and you separate, I separated with my ex-girlfriend, and you go to the male and then the female, and you're inside this mosque and everyone is like kissing the shrine, and it's like, wow, I was in a different world. And then when we left,
crazy,
because usually only usually tourists are not allowed to go there, but they for some reason let us in.
I don't remember why exactly, but you're right. I remember our tour guide telling us we might not get in. Yeah, and then we got in, and then we had to separate, us three guys, and then one girl, and it was kind of weird situation
for her. She was really scared as well, because she told me afterwards she was in the mosque and people were like, you have to kiss the shrine, like be a believer. It was very, very interesting, the situation. And then once we left the mosque again, and we bought some bread on the street, I think,
which was honestly like the best bread I've ever had. I remember that. I still think about this bread until today.
Bread.
I love bread. Bread is the best thing ever. And I remember this on the side of the street. There was a family selling bread. I think our tour guide said they were from Iraq or something, or it was an Iraqi kind of bread or whatever. Until today, I've not found the bread again. Not in Iraq, nowhere.
I guess you have to go to Syria.
Yeah, honestly, I'd go back to the shrine just for the bread.
If you get in again.
Yeah, if I get in again.
But then we left we went into our car and we left, and we got stopped at a checkpoint, and it was a Hezbollah checkpoint. I'm like, wow, that's crazy, because you see like all the Hezbollah flags.
Exactly.
And to be honest, at this point, I didn't even know that they were really in Syria as well. I thought it was just like a Lebanese thing.
Yeah.
And then you have like those Hezbollah flags, and they're like, it's a Hezbollah checkpoint, like we're going to search your stuff. And I was really scared, because I have like lots of different keyboards on my phone. I have like the Arabic keyboard, I have the Hebrew keyboard, and I was like, shit, if they search my phone and they find the Hebrew keyboard.
That sucks.
Screwed.
Yeah.
So I was like really afraid. But they checked the car quite extensively, and then they let us go.
But they didn't check us at all.
No.
Yeah, I think it was another matter of German passports.
Yeah, as
there
German,
were a lot of checkpoints in Syria.
With this document, with the German passport, we are really privileged people.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
But also as a tourist in general in Syria, you're really well treated.
That is true. That is true.
As soon as someone says at the checkpoints, like, they're tourists, I feel like the government, and now it's the government, they want to give the tourists that do come like a really good impression as well. They do.
It's the same strategy as like right now Afghanistan. That's what I was going to say. Yeah, Afghanistan also has the same strategy, because they of course want to portray a very positive image of the new government, of the the situation. They need the money, of course. They need the reputation. They want international relations again. Syria, same thing. So everyone that comes from outside, they want them to have a very, very positive time in the country. So as a tourist in Syria, you have a completely different life, of course, than compared to the local population.
Now, what people always ask is, when you do one of those tours, like let's say you go to Syria, will you only be shown what you're supposed to see, or can you actually go out, for example, alone?
That depends on the country. I would say in Syria, the guide that we had, I think he was... I don't know which party he was from, basically. What his interests were in showing us. He was very... the tour was very focused on history, which makes sense in Syria. He also didn't want to make any clear statements about the government. My impression was his tendency was kind of negative, but maybe that was played. I don't know. I don't know if it was the government guy or anything. I don't know if he showed us what he was supposed to show us, or if it was actually...
But the question was, like, were we allowed to leave alone? Like, were we at all times with our guide or no?
Well, no, we were not. Not in the city. But the question is, was there a limit that we didn't know about?
Yeah.
You know, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Is you know, of course, like he left us at our hotel and he was like, you know, there's a nice bar, there's a nice restaurant, you can go to those places.
Yeah, and we actually went out and
we
explored
actually
alone
did go
in the
out.
city.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
no one would have stopped us. So I
Exactly.
think that's important to
That
highlight.
is,
here.
yeah, no,
we were
100%.
completely without a guide in like the center of Damascus, and we explored. I celebrated my birthday there.
Yeah.
Our guide was not there.
That's true.
We went out nightlife. We had lots of drinks, got really, really drunk, and then stumbled back to our hotel.
Right.
But, yeah.
But what I'm thinking, you're right. You're like on the surface, that's the impression that I have. But I'm thinking, is there maybe a limit that we?
Probably.
You know, somewhere there must have been a limit.
I'm sure as soon as we reach a checkpoint,
yeah,
they're going to be like,
of course.
What are you doing?
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. So maybe it was kind of a strategy. You know, that they know if we let them stay at this hotel and, you know, let them walk around, they're probably not going to go to whatever place.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe there was no thought behind this. I don't know what the limits were, but I'm sure there are some things that we were not supposed to see, that we didn't see.
Yeah.
But in general, I also felt very free compared to what you hear, for example, about the tours in North Korea.
Yeah.
You know, so Syria was a lot more relaxed when it comes to rules. They didn't tell us anything. They recommended us to wear long pants, but it was not obligated.
Yeah.
I think
it is obligated in the religious sides, obviously.
Of course.
But
Yeah. But I think someone like Mark, our friend, he would have still worn shorts.
He would have still worn his shorts.
Yeah.
I've never seen him without shorts.
No, me neither.
So our tour in Syria was really focused on history.
Yeah.
And on the last day, we went all the way down to Basra, which is really interesting. They have this huge ancient theater that's really impressive. And then we drove along the Golan Heights, which I found really interesting. Because just like 3 months before that, I was actually in the Golan Heights from the Israeli side. And that was really interesting. I was like, wow.
Talking about the Israeli side, do you remember the question they asked us when we entered Syria?
Yeah.
If we've ever been to occupied Palestine. That was funny.
And me, like speaking Hebrew, having been like 13 times to like Tel Aviv and both sides, you know, I've been to and stuff. But it was tough because if you say yes, they're probably not going to let you in.
No, they were going to be like, well,
Tough
go back.
luck.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, you have to lie.
The thing is, even Lebanon is not really chill about this, right? Can you?
Lebanon is not chill at all.
That's what I'm saying. Like, not chill with Israelis, but imagine you're in the situation. You know, you're at the border between Lebanon and Syria, and you say, well, you know, I go to Israel every couple of months.
No way.
So what happens? You know, you can't go to Syria, you can't go to Lebanon.
You're stuck in limbo. You'll probably be jailed. You'll probably be jailed.
Probably,
realistically, If you say I go to Syria to Israel every couple of months, you'll be jailed.
Yeah.
It's a sad reality. But that was really nerve-wracking.
Mm-hmm.
That was really nerve-wracking because I was in the situation and he repeated the question. You know, he didn't just ask it once. It was like, have you been to Israel? Have you been to?
He never said Israel.
Really?
No, I paid attention to that. He never said Israel. I think it's like their
okay.
principle.
Then let's
or
cut
something.
that out. Okay.
It's okay. I think it's like their principle to actually call it occupied Palestine, to not
enough.
give them any
formal recognition outside.
Exactly.
No, very, very interesting. Yeah, it also said it on the visa application.
Mm-hmm.
On the visa application, it says, "Have you been to occupied Palestine?" And then the guard repeats the question, like, "Have you been to?" Because he sees like all my passport stamps. You know, so many passport stamps. The whole passport is basically full, and he's like, "Have you been to Jerusalem? Yes or no?"
That's true. He said that. Yeah,
Jerusalem. He asked about Jerusalem. And then he asked, like, have you been to Palestine? Have you been to occupied Palestine? And then, you have to say no.
Never.
Only go to Syria, habibi. And then, they were chill with us then at some point, you know. They were chill and then they let us in the country. And, we had a very interesting time in Syria.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, the shitstorm started. It's really sad as well how the media portrays certain things. Because, for example, I did this interview with one of the, leading German news agencies, sites, pages, whatever. And they asked me 12 questions. And for each and every single question, I filmed a 30-second answer video. And then they made this one reel on Instagram where they cut out like the worst 5 seconds of the things that I said without giving any context to all my any other answers that I gave, explaining our situation. Some of the newspapers that picked the story up, they didn't even mention that I was trying to visit every country, and it was country 112 or something for me,
Yeah.
They just portrayed it like, okay, those
like
two
a random,
gringos,
exactly.
they go to Syria for holiday, they have nothing better to do, they're doing like propaganda.
That's also the case, they always use the word vacation, holiday, it's like,
exactly.
no, this is not a vacation, this is,
exactly. I'm not going to take my mom on to holiday to Damascus. No, exactly. I'm trying to visit every country in the world and share it to our followers, That's true. What we did.
No, the way the newspapers talked about us, I felt really treated not very fairly. It was really bad. We gave, of course there were a couple of interviews. They wanted us to send in videos. Some wanted us to just answer the questions through email, and the answers we gave, in my opinion, were always really, really good. They were written really well, but they never actually give any recognition to most of what we said. It's like you said, they
cherry pick the worst bits, basically.
Exactly. And just
and I still have those videos. I still have like the 12 answers, for example, that I filmed for the German news channel.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I was like, and I wrote a comment, like a long comment on their reel, which
I remember that.
Which I'm very glad that they did not delete it. They were honest enough to keep it up, but I was like, hey, this is not fair. You asked me 12 questions, I answered them in depth. And now you're cherry picking like the worst bit of what I said, which is completely out of context.
Yeah.
And then this comment got like a lot of likes as well, because people were like, well, something must be wrong then,
Yeah.
But it was very interesting. It definitely taught me a lesson to be careful with like media stuff. Because it was tough, like all the shitstorm. I remember my ex-girlfriend, it made her really sad, like all the hate messages and stuff.
Me too. And the funny thing is, I was about to start a new job. And the one that I have now, my flight attendant job, and it was supposed to start just like on the day or the day before we got all the hate from social media. And I remember this going like 2 to 3 weeks where I was really, really sad. I had to deal with all the hate comments. It was my first time having like negative, like a lot of negative comments on my content. And then my job starting got delayed by exactly 3 weeks. So I had like 3 weeks of, I had nothing to do.
3 weeks of misery.
yeah. But it was nice because starting a new job with a new course and everything was pretty exhausting. So I was really happy at the end that these 3 weeks that I was supposed to be working already, I ended up just dealing with getting better from the Syria stuff. It was funny. And then I started in the beginning of November. So it was all 2 months after we went to Syria. 1.5 to 2 months after we went to Syria.
And then how did we leave Syria? We also went back to Lebanon.
Yeah.
And that was actually on my birthday. So we celebrated into the birthday in Damascus on the last night. And then on my birthday, after being drunk and walking back to the hotel at some point in the morning, we made our way back to the border.
Yeah, and then we spent a couple of hours at the border. I remember it being super a long time because you guys had your flight in the evening. My flight was a day later, and we still wanted to go to the restaurant in Beirut.
Like a vegan restaurant.
Yeah, the vegan restaurant.
Vegan cake.
Exactly. What was it called? Luna's Kitchen?
Luna's Kitchen.
Luna's Kitchen.
Luna's Kitchen.
Yeah, so Luna's Kitchen, shout out to the restaurant in Beirut.
Shout out to a different Luna as well.
It was an amazing restaurant. Yeah,
definitely recommend it. If you're vegetarian or vegan, go there. It's amazing.
Let me check if it still exists. Luna's Kitchen, Beirut. Yeah. Yes, it exists. And it
still exists, and it's amazing. I had my birthday cake there. It was great. Definitely recommend it. Yeah, and then we left Lebanon, and that's the story of our Syria trip.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That was a little story time. So who would have thought that when we started traveling like independently, who would have thought that at some point the European Parliament would tweet about us, about our travels?
But it's crazy. We were famous for a while.
So if you have any... So if you guys have any ideas for content or stuff that you want to see here on the podcast, then let us know on the comments or drop us a message on Instagram for ideas at the German Travel Guy and at Bühl Philipp.
Exactly.
And we'll see you in the next episode of the Every Country podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and see you in the next episode.
Adios.
Bye bye. Ma salam.
Ma salam.